Let's take a trip around the NBA. We've got 30 teams to take a look at. All of the injury updates that you need to know about the injuries, I guess. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and don't you hate when you get the ends of your hair stuck in the sauces and the seasonings? I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Blue Sky at joshloyd.bsky.social, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Also, check out LockedOnDaily.com. Your favorite team has a newsletter, so go and sign up and get that delivered to your inbox 5 days a week. Throw up this video, double bang it as well, and leave your comments. We're 30 teams. Can it be done in under 30 minutes? Probably not, but we're going to attempt to do it anyway. Let's look at injuries. We will start with the Washington Wizards. Let's see where we're at with them. And at the moment, and this is all subject to change, NBA releases an injury report every hour. So there's always going to be stuff changing, and we try and cover as best as we can, but there's going to be random stuff that pops up and different diagnoses and all that sort of stuff. At the moment, it is the future MVP Kyle Kuzma, who's on the injury report with a rib sprain. He has missed the last game. He's going to miss the next game. I've got a tentative return date of the 12th of December for Kuzma, but who knows? Last game, it was against a bigger opponent, so they started Jonas Valanciunas there. They might do that in the next one as well. It's against Cleveland, I believe. But then Keishel and George would be someone interesting. But the Wizards are heavily leaning into washed-up veterans at the moment, and that's reflecting in their record of 2 wins, which is obviously sick and great and awesome and fun for everybody. And it just gives so much hope for the future, of course. What do you do with Kuzma, who's been terrible all season? I think at this point you hold. Speaking of terrible, the Utah Jazz, the Jazzmen. Kyle Filipowski, there is some hope for Filipowski to be a 12-team guy at some point this season, but he is now dealing with a leg issue. I've got him tentatively marked questionable for their next game, but they are starting Collins now at power forward, which they weren't doing before, and we're getting a lot of minutes out of Walker Kessler. So it'll be very interesting to see what timeout legend Will Hardy does in the next one. Does he put Filipowski as the backup 4-5? Does it cut Kessler's minutes down? Do they drop Collins' minutes down? How long does Collins keep starting? I don't know. Remember, they were playing Collins 22 minutes a night at the start of the year. So it's not outside the realms of possibility of Collins seeing minutes drop at some point. And if you do have stashability, where do you have stashability? Weekly leagues, deep bench leagues, roto leagues. That is where you have the ability to stash. If you're in a standard 10-3, 10-4 starters bench, daily changes league, you can't stash. It's impossible to do. You will lose by the time that player gets value. If you're in a stashable format, I think Filipowski will have a top 110-ish run at some point, but we're not there. The other one is Jordan Clarkson, who's dealing with a plantar fascia issue. He has missed, I think, 5 out of the last 6 games, Clarko, and with him out, you would expect that means 35 minutes for Colin Sexton. Well, it does some days, and it doesn't the others. Clarkson is... Have a look at Jordan Clarkson's shooting percentages, by the way. JORDANCLARKSON. Have a look at his shooting numbers, 3-point percentage the last 2 years, like 27%. Bro, if you can't hit threes, what are you even doing? But I know what you're doing. You're taking minutes. And you're being the man on the street. Clarkson is not a 12-team league player, but his return will impact players like Collier and Sexton and ESPN legend Johnny Juzang. Is it Juzang or Juzang? I think it's Juzang, maybe. Anyway. Toronto, the old Raptors. Let's take a look. Someone alerted me to the fact of Toronto being obviously a terrible place. Clear. Come on, we know that. But yeah, the We the North moniker. When okay, you're the North, but there's more teams that are north than Toronto. Minnesota is more north than Toronto. I think Portland is more north than Toronto. Is Detroit even more north than Toronto? It's close. We the sort of north? Oh well, it's Canada. 90,000K subs, by the way. We do the annexation of Canada, so let's do that. Let's talk about grade A dick, the prestige penis, the calf issue, which is lingering, as calf issues do. I do not think that you need to hold on to dick, because with Barnes there, with Barrett there, we've already seen that we're getting less Dick from Toronto when he was playing. The shots were down. He doesn't do as much. And all Dick really was volume. It was about getting shots up when players were out, and now he's not there. He's not getting those shots. And I think I've said it before, but this is a seminal giggity moment in the show. You can jack off Dick.
Get that garbage out of here.
And in context, that all makes complete sense. You get rid of him. Manuel, quickly, we're still looking at probably a couple of weeks away for IQ with the UCL issue. There are people who do want to drop quickly, and I get it. It's been an incredibly frustrating start of the season, but I think this man is going to cook as a top 60 player at some point this season, maybe even higher. If you're in the perils of a league with bad ILs or no ILs or full ILs, just consider, again, don't consider this guy a fringe top 100 player. This is a top 50, top 60 guy, and assess it the same. Like, if you are in a spot where you go, hey, Jaylen Brown's out for 3 weeks, would I drop him? Like, that's how you view Emmanuel Quickley. That's how I would view Emmanuel Quickley anyway. And with him out, you get the occasional Gary Trent III, Jacoby Walter game. You get some Davion Mitchell action. And mostly it doesn't matter. He's out. We also are going to get, I guess at some point, like Bruce Brown and Kelly Olynyk playing. They signed these veterans to do what? Sit on the bench looking like hippies and cowboys. One of the best photos of all time. I don't know if you've seen it. Olynyk sitting there with like an open shirt and a headband, and Bruce Brown in a check shirt with like boots on and a cowboy hat. Some of the funniest stuff you'll ever see. I can't be bothered going to find the photo, but yeah. Anyway, when those guys come back, will they be useful? Probably not. But Olynyk will come in and take some minutes at the 4 and the 5, and I don't think it's going to mean that Pirtle goes back to 27 minutes. But Brown can come in and take some of the Dick minutes. He can take some of Quickley's playing time a little bit, but these aren't going to be fantasy options for the majority of people. Is my guess. What will become interesting for fantasy people is in San Antonio, because I do think that Jeremy Sohan could be back very soon. In fact, maybe the next game, maybe a game after. I've got a tentative return date of the 5th of December for Sohan with his thumb injury. This one is really clearly to be trending as an early return. Sohan was cooking early this season while shooting really poorly. Again, go look at numbers. Go look at his 3-point percentage. Go look at his free throw percentage this season and say, well, he was actually really good. And then go, oh yeah, but that can improve. And yeah, look, it could decrease because he was doing a lot of that without Devin Vassell. But this is year 3. It's a big breakout year for a lot of players. Sohan looked great. Tell you who doesn't look great, like Harrison Barnes. Like Sohan, I think, is going to step up into a larger role. And what he was doing before can easily be offset by improved shooting. And if the usage actually stays up, we are talking top 70. Don't hold me to that. But if Sohan's available, I would consider grabbing. Trey Jones hurt his shoulder in the last game for the Spurs. I don't believe we've had any sort of update on that. I really don't think that he's going to be available and playing in the next one. That helps someone like Steph Castle get his backup minutes. But yeah, Castle's just not good as a fantasy player at this point. And he's a really, really tough hold, I think, as any sort of standard league player. The next team we go to is the Sacramento Kings. Fanapants, Kevin Huerter missed the last game with an ankle injury. I don't know that he plays in the next one. But what I also do know is it does not matter, because he is not a 12-team league player. Because if you didn't catch this in yesterday's show, Leaky Monk is starting. Leaky Monk is going to continue to start. Leaky Monk has been the 4th best player on this team for years, and now he is getting the chance to play more than 26 minutes a night, and Malik Monk is a must-roster player. Kevin Huerter's time is done. It was done 3 years ago, but Mike Brown, also, by the way, Mike Brown, coach of the year 2 years ago, is he actually good? I don't know. When you go from Luke Walton, yeah, everything's an upgrade. But is he a good coach? I don't know. Anyway, Malik Monk is a must-roster guy. Kevin Huerter's a drop. Trey Lyles is dealing with that calf issue, which is going to keep him out a few weeks. We've got him out around Christmas return. In that time frame, you had Jay Crowder getting minutes. But just, again, for old mates here, the old double Onyx, Diamond, Titanium, Platinum leagues, Isaac Jones is getting minutes, and that's just something to watch there. While first-round pick Devin Carter, we're not getting him until sometime in January, and I really don't think when he's got to battle Keon Ellis and Kevin Huerter still for minutes, I'm not sure he's going to see any significant playing time or be important for us. On the Portland side of things, we did get, I believe, a small update here on some of their guys. Scoot Henderson is dealing with this quad contusion. He's considered day-to-day. Their next game is on Tuesday. if Scoot plays 30 minutes, last time we saw Scoot, he played 35 minutes, right? And he was pretty good in that game. But it's so hard to judge because of who's in and who's out of every one of these games. I still think Scoot is showing marginal signs of improvement, but I don't think we're necessarily holding. Robbie Williams has been ruled out for Tuesday's game with a concussion. He played 12 minutes in the game after we heard about Klingen's injury, got concussed, and then was done. If he plays 22 minutes tonight, Rob, he is a 12-team league player, but I get it. If you don't want to hold him, considering the timing of this, fine. That's okay. Donovan Klingen, we're looking at around a Christmas return with his sprained MCL, and then when he comes back, he's got to work back in. He'll be limited in minutes and limited in rests, I'm guessing. I'm not sure that's a particularly strong hold. Like, for example, if I had to make a decision to hold Klingen or Quickly, that's easily Quickly. And then the other one is Matisse Thybulle, who has not played a single second this season. Thybulle's out for another few weeks with an ankle sprain. He had knee surgery as well. So it's a bit of a double banger for old mate, the painter, Matisse Thybulle. We're going to come back, cover off the next batch of NBA teams. But before we do that, today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. Yes, you know what PrizePicks is. Well, if you don't know what PrizePicks is, I'm going to tell you what PrizePicks is. PrizePicks is the best way to get your real sports money action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players, and you can win a shot to get up to 100 times your cash. You can run your game all season long with PrizePicks. PrizePicks now also offers Venmo for quick and easy deposits and withdrawals into your account whenever you're placing those lineups in. And PrizePicks puts the members first. All withdrawals are fast, they're safe, they're secure. So when your picks hit, you get your money in as quick as 15 minutes, whatever sport it is. Whether you're looking at the NBA, you might be doing NHL, you might be looking at the NFL. You can do that over on PrizePicks. Get those individual stat projections in, go up to 6 individual ones and see what you can get back. So download the app today and use the code Locked On NBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today, use the code Locked On NBA. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Today's episode is also brought to you by Game Time. Yes, Game Time. The legends over at Game Time are always finding ways to make getting events or tickets to events easier. And that's where Game Time Picks comes in. It gets you those tickets easier, saves you time and money by filtering out the bad options and showing you the good ones. So you know that what you're getting is the right thing. It's the best thing, and it saves you that time and your money. They give you the views that you can see from your seat. You can go in there onto the app as well and check the seat and go, wow, amazing. That's what I'm going to see when I'm sitting in this spot. You've got the lowest price guarantee. You've got event cancellation protection. They've got the super deals they throw out there as well. So many different options on Game Time that makes your ticket purchasing experience just the best that you can get. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create the account, and use Locked On NBA, the code, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create the account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. All right, let's get into the next batch of NBA teams. We are doing the injury report here. Across the league, we just finished with the Portland Trailblazers. So now let's look at the Phoenix Suns. Only the 2 guys on their current injury report, and both of them, it doesn't appear to be anything long-term. Bradley Beal and Yusuf Nurkic. Beal came back and he played He played the last 2 games. He played the back-to-back, the Tuesday, Wednesday. Left with an ankle problem, which was allegedly an ankle, and then he missed on Saturday, and now they called that then a calf management thing. So I don't really know. With Beal, it's been a constant in and out for him. In fact, he left a game on the 12th of November, then he missed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with a calf contusion. He came back, played a back-to-back, left the second game of that back-to-back with an ankle issue, then missed the next game with a calf. It's all over the place with him. And Nurkic has had ankle problems all season. He's had missed game, played, missed, played, missed. And he's played back-to-backs and sat not back-to-backs. And I think for him and those ankle issues for Nurk, I think it's going to be a longer-term problem, because it's just a recurrent problem. Maybe that's a better way of saying it. What we had last game with Nurkic out, it wasn't the cockroach Mason Plumlee. Well, it was. He started, but it was also Iguodala who stepped up into that position. Now, it is against the Warriors, so you can go a little bit smaller, but that was a notable development. And when Beal is out, you get more Grayson Allen. He played 32 minutes in the last one. He played 30 the game before. Allen, to me, if he gets 30 a night, is interesting enough. I don't know if that's going to be the case every game, but it's interesting enough. But he is just a points and threes sort of a player, Grayson Allen, in that position. The Philadelphia 76 as well. I wish I had something to be able to inform you with a little bit more depth onto that, but I don't. So let's talk about Joel Embiid, who is out again on Tuesday. I believe they called it personal reasons as well as this knee injury thing. Like I have said, and someone will ask me these questions, and I'll be categorical once more. I will not trade for Joel Embiid, and be very, very cautious with these terms, and you can twist this as much as you want. Under any circumstance, I will not do it. Oh, you wouldn't trade Bronny James? Sure, cool. That's not anything realistic whatsoever, right? That is not what we're talking about. But if you're like, would you trade Nick Claxton for Joel Embiid? No, I would not. I just wouldn't. I don't want Joel Embiid on my fantasy teams this season. Why, you ask? I think his knee is cooked, and I have said this for months. And no matter that, when he comes back, he will have good games, and I know this. He will play some games. But I do not think that he's got any ability left to be able to stay healthy for any period of time, because I think the knee is done. Remember what happened to Brandon Roy. Remember what happened to Greg Oden, different injury. There just becomes a point in players' careers after multiple meniscus surgeries that you can't play. You can't play long term. You can't do it. And I hope that I am wrong. And I could be wrong. I just do not want to take that risk. Because even if it is Nick Claxton or Jakob Poeltl or whoever it is that I trade to get Embiid, if Embiid plays 5 games, it wasn't worth it. It wasn't. I don't know when he's coming back. He has obviously barely played. He came back, he played 3 games, and now he's hurt again. Like, it's the same stuff, man, and that's what I fear for the rest of his career, honestly. And I hate that. Caleb Martin, missed the last 2 games, actually, with back problems. With him out, you get opportunities for other guys, and it was KJ Martin, who played a lot of center last game. You get in the mayor, Ricky Council's played 50 minutes combined in the last 2 games, and that's a deep one. I actually like Ricky Council quite a bit. Kyle Lowry's been out for a week or so with a hip injury. Lowry will come back and play his 15 or 16 minutes, and maybe Reggie Jackson and Eric Gordon go away there. Jackson's also dealing with an injury himself. The question there becomes what happens to Jared McCain. Well, we already know that things are bad for him at the moment. Moving to the bench for Kelly Oubre is about as low as it gets. I would like to hold McCain for maybe one more game, but it is feeling like we don't need to keep him on a roster. But I will hold Jared for now. Andre Drummond hurt his ankle. He's going to be out at least the next 3 games. So with Embiid out, with Drummond out, we are adding Gershon Yabusele. We're going to dance our way to grab the bear in all of these different spots. He's going to be, maybe not a top 60 player or anything like that, 110, 120. But I think Drummond's injury is actually longer than 3 games personally, and obviously I've got concerns about Embiid. And Yabusele was already starting over Drummond because Andre Drummond he's washed. So Yabusele is, and Yabusele can play it before as well. So some interesting options there. Then Reggie Jackson, like I said. Paul George, I'm not sure whether Georgie's going to play. This is a back-to-back coming up for the Sixers, Tuesday, Wednesday. So George will miss one of them. I just don't know which one of those games he's not going to be participating in. For your Orlando Magic. Wow, voice a bit cracky there. Paolo Banchero. We're still looking a couple of weeks away from Paolo. I've got around the 21st of December as a potential return date. And in that time, we are seeing Wendell Carter and Goga Badadze start together. And I know that, again, there is going to be the thing, well, why can't Goga keep doing this? Well, the thing is, why he can't is when Paolo comes back, Carter and Goga won't start together. So minutes will be lost somewhere, and that will make them very hard to continue to roster. If they run a 3-center rotation, and you might say they'll just take Mo Wagner out of the rotation, I don't think they will. And that will make it very hard for that value to continue. For now, it's great. I didn't think they'd play them together, and maybe they do something completely wild and wacky and somehow still find a way to get 26 minutes for Goga and 26 minutes for Wendell. But play the 240 game. It's really bloody hard to do. It's really hard to do. Gary Harris dealing with a hamstring injury with Gaz out. You're getting actually more Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, who'd been terrible and has been good. And you can stream KCP, and we know the upside's not particularly high. I would like to see them get a little bit more Jet Howard and Cole Anthony, but it's not happening. We're also seeing fewer minutes from Mr. Black, who is not a 12-team league player. The Oklahoma City Thunder. I would love to get some information on what is going on with Alex Caruso and his hip. The information you need to know is you don't need to roster him in 10 or 12 team leagues because not only is he not producing, but he's not playing. He has played 2 games over the last 2.5 weeks, and one of those was a 15-minute outing. And with him out, you don't bother with it. Cason Wallace had big minutes the last 2 games, but okay. 33, 31 and 36 minutes, and 33 and 26 before that, but there was a 15-minute, a 25-minute, a 27. We are getting Wallace sort of establishing himself ahead of Joe and ahead of Wiggins, and if we had 30 minutes of Cason Wallace, I'd be very interested in him in a 12-team format. Pig Williams, we're still waiting for his season debut, maybe a couple of games away, maybe a week away. He'll take, I guess, some of Kenrich Williams' minutes there behind Isaiah Hartenstein. Chet, I'm thinking all-star break there. So that is a hard stash, honestly, because when he does come back, he's going to be limited. I'm guessing he's going to be playing smaller minutes and sitting some back-to-backs. Obviously, he's an elite player, but it is a long time to wait. Maybe he beats the timetable, but this is a very, very long-term serious injury. And then Usman Jeng is dealing with that finger issue that should keep him out till Christmas, and he's just not going to be a part of the rotation. The New York Knickerbockers. 2 players that have not played at all this season are Precious Achiuwa and Mitchie Robinson. Precious maybe the rest of this week, maybe returns this week. I don't know. This hamstring injury that is taking quite a long time must have been pretty significant. Precious would come in and take Jericho Sims' backup minutes and be an interesting player if something happened to Towns or to Anunoby. I hate Precious at the 4, but maybe they would do that. Actually hate him at the 5 as well. And Mitch Robinson, we're looking at New Year's Day. And I think when Mitch comes back, they'll be pretty careful with his minutes because, again, yes, he is a rebounder. He does block shots, but things are going pretty well with Karl Anthony Towns at center. So I don't think there's going to be huge changes going on there. For the New Orleans Pelicans, we are getting some news on some of these players. I wish we had some news on what on earth a plantaris tendonitis is, which is what Brandon Ingram is dealing with. Ingram has missed 4 consecutive games. He's missed 5 out of his last 6 games, and we knew it was sort of a matter of time before he joined the litany of injuries. For the Pelicans, I was extraordinarily down on Ingram this season because I just didn't know, I hate when he's off ball because he's bad at it, and I didn't know how many opportunities he'd get to be on ball, and now the players that all came back that are on ball, Ingram said, right, I'm done, I'm not playing. I don't know what we do with that. I actually do think that there will become a point where we discuss dropping Brandon Ingram. We're not there yet. Good news, Herb Jones is set to return. He is doubtful for Monday, but then their next game is Thursday, so it would seem very likely that Herb returns. Now, the problem with Herb is he actually good enough to roster? In points leagues, the answer is a categorical no for 10 and 12 teams. You do not bother with that. In category leagues, you know what's going to happen. He's going to score very few points. He did have improved shooting, but that might regress at any point. He's going to be a steals and blocks specialist who still has to compete for any sort of touches with these other players. And now Yves Missi is playing better. So does that limit Jones? It's a weird one. Now Zion out does help Herb. And I think I would consider grabbing him, but it is very, very specific in what he brings. Zion, I'm looking at maybe a January return, but his hamstrings are horrible at healing, and that could go longer. Jordan Hawkins' back problem continues to be a real issue, obviously. I would hope that we're not rostering him in 10 or 12 or 14 team leagues. Maybe you are. I would hope, again, that you're not, but maybe you are. And Jose Alvarado's a few weeks out, and he's just not going to be able to have any sort of role that's similar to what he had beforehand because other players are returning. We've got other teams to cover off here coming up really soon. But today's episode is also brought to you by BetterHelp, and we are in December. Yes, it is December, and that is the month of cozy. It's the month of comfort. It's the month of holidays. It's the month of family. It's the month of stress, though, for some people. So you need to be able to find your comfort. What is it? Is it hot cocoa? Is it a, I don't know, like a bowl of whiskey soup with iced croutons? I don't know. Whatever it is that gets you that comfort. We love comfort. We like to be cozy. It's friends, it's family, it's hanging out, it's all of these things that can be something that is useful for you in getting through stressful times. Therapy can be a way of finding your comfort. Therapy can also be comfort. It can help you determine the things that help you, the ways you're able to approach issues in your life and be able to get to the right spot. I know that sounds like very nebulous, but like you understand, oh, well, maybe that's why that happens. Okay, so let's embrace that, or let's change that, or let's deal with that however it is that we want to do it. And that's where therapy can come in and help. So if you've been thinking of starting therapy, BetterHelp, just give it a try. It's entirely online. It is designed to suit your schedule. You fill out a questionnaire online. They match you up with a therapist, and If you click with a therapist, fantastic, lovely. And if you don't, you can change your therapist at no cost at any point. So go ahead, go to BetterHelp. Go to betterhelp.com/lockedonnba and get 10% off your first month. That is BetterHelp, betterhelp.com/lockedonnba. All right, let's dig through the next part of this, of these injury updates. The Minnesota Timberwolves. They've had pretty clean injuries all season and no real difference here. Rob Dillingham is dealing with an ankle problem, but he's sort of out of the rotation anyway. And Joe Ingles is definitely out of the rotation. He's dealing with a calf strain, so that's maybe a couple of weeks away, so we don't worry too much there. And then, honestly, the Milwaukee injury report's pretty clean as well. Giannis is on there as probable with a stomach illness, so that's nothing to be worried about. And then we actually might be getting Chris Middleton back, maybe here in week 7. Do we move the GTA 6 meme across to him? Potentially. I've got him as doubtful because Doc Rivers said he doubts that he plays. I also doubt that he plays, Glenn. But any sort of update from any of you clowns would be good as we run this same bit 3 years in a row. Middleton now, given that it's been so long, he is going to be limited for a very long time. And I expect that he's going to be outside the top 100 in fantasy for many, many weeks now. And maybe he's back to 30 minutes by the middle of January. If there's no setbacks. If he doesn't hurt another part of his body. You've lasted this long, though, so I would consider just holding to see what happens. And even in 27 minutes a night last season, he was useful enough. But yeah, it's getting to the stage where I'm not certain that this is a 100% hold all the way through. In Miami, James Butler is dealing with a knee injury. He said he's banged up and he's fine, and everyone gets banged up. And Jim, that's just not true, my guy, because you are out again. On Monday, maybe he returns for the next one. I don't know. Same with Little Chungus, Nikola Jovic, and Joshie Richardson. Jovic is dealing with an ankle sprain. He's missed the last couple. He's basically been out of the rotation anyway. So is Josh Richardson, who is listed with the curious designation of head illness. And what that is Richardson, I believe, maybe I'm incorrect on this, but I believe he has suffered from migraines pretty seriously over the last few seasons and probably at other points in his life as well. So I'm going to guess that head illness means migraines. Richardson's just not a part of that rotation anyway. And unfortunately for a player I used to really like, he is definitely washed, I would say, Josh, and struggling to provide any real value. In Memphis, we do have Zach Edey set to return. He could be back in that next game. But before his injury, Edey was starting to play really quite well in limited minutes, and I think he's always going to be a relatively limited minutes player. But he was doing enough to be a 12-team league guy. We'll see how they use him when he returns, but he's set to be back soon. Fitzwilliams is probably out until some point in early January, and then it's going to be a hard slog to get him back. And then GG Jackson around Christmas time, but again, don't think he's going to be part of the rotation. With Vince out, you're getting a couple of extra minutes for LaRavia, probably not enough for 12s. You're getting more to do for Santi Aldama, who is shooting the absolute lights out, like 58% from 3 over the last 2 weeks, which is obviously bumping his value a lot. Another thing that Santi has brought, interestingly enough, with Vince out is his increased passing ability. So just keep an eye on that as Memphis has sort of changed things up. We're getting a lot of this passing stuff from the wings, like LaRavia and like Aldama now, which is not a usual thing from them. On to the Lakers. There's quite a few players on this injury report. A lot of them aren't things that are super, super serious or long-term, but they're all on there. And I'm not even including Anthony Davis, who's going to be on that injury report every time with a probable tag of plantar fasciitis. We had Austin Reeves, had a hard fall on Friday. He missed the game on Sunday. He's officially questionable on Monday with the pelvis issue. With him out, they started Gabe Vincent. Didn't go particularly well, and that's to be expected. What we also have is D'Angelo Russell, who missed the game on the weekend, and he is probable with an illness, so I would expect if Reeves isn't there, that Russell's going to get a big starting opportunity and probably miss a million shots, but he's going to get more minutes to play. Christian Wood, the crucifix, we're dealing with that knee problem. He's out probably another couple of weeks, and we don't need to care about that for most of us in fantasy. Cam Reddish missed on the weekend. He's on the way out of the rotation again for the 70th time in his career. When will they learn? I guess when he's not represented by clutch. And then Jackson Hayes and Jared Vanderbilt are dealing with ankle and foot injuries respectively. We're probably a couple of weeks ago. Now, I've got Wood, Hayes, and Vanderbilt all set to return on the same date. That won't happen, but that's all about that same time frame. There'll be different situations there, and they'll all sort of compete for those minutes and eat into each other's playing time. That it's not going to matter for the majority of us in terms of getting value there. For the Clippers, Kevin Porter Jr. missed the last game with an ankle sprain. He was starting to play up. He'd played 25 minutes in each of the last 2 games, and that was close to being streamable for points leagues especially, but still that overall upper value level isn't there for him. Kawhi Leonard, no idea. Absolutely no idea. They give vague updates. Yeah, he's doing some work. Cool. And he is very much in the Embiid category for me. I would not trade for Kawhi under any circumstance. I made the mistake of drafting him in the 50s in one league, and that was before one of the updates in the preseason, and I hate myself for doing it. I actually think that he is in real strife as well in terms of career now. Real strife. Kobe Brown is questionable with a back issue. It's going to take a few injuries there for him to actually provide any relevance, and that's okay. In Indiana, we got the updates. Remember this when Ben Shepherd strained his oblique and they listed him questionable for 2 games, and now he's going to miss a month? Like, what were you lying for? What is the point of that? Anyway, both him and Ben Shepherd and Aaron Nesmith, who's dealing with an ankle problem, are going to be out for a few more weeks there. We've got them returning around that December 19th range. And with both of them out, Ben Matherin's value stays high. Andrew Nembhard gets a little bit more of a run at things, and you get a little bit more Timothy John McConnell into that mix as well. And 20-odd minutes of Jarris Walker, which is enough to stream in some steals. Houston, things are looking pretty good. We're looking pretty good there. They are all good to go. And in Golden State, similarly. Now, in Golden State, you are going to see Steph appear on the injury report a few times, dealing with this knee problem, and I think he's going to miss games throughout the year. But currently, their injury report is clean, so we are thankful for that. In Detroit, Cade Cunningham was a very late scratch over the weekend. It was on a back-to-back, and you think you're okay there. I think he's going to be fine playing the next game, but their next set of games is a back-to-back, so I will tentatively say that Cade misses one of those games. And we'll see how he goes with this pelvis issue. But it was good that he's able to play already. And we'll just hope that this back-to-back thing doesn't last. And then we haven't seen any action from Bobby Klintman so far this season. He's probably not going to be... It's going to be hard to find, I guess, him playing a sizable role this season, given the way the team is. Denver, at the moment, Aaron Gordon is back. I think we're good to go. Now, I didn't include Vlatko Cancar on this. I believe Cancar is out for the season. I said that last week. They have not given an update on his knee sprain, which looks like a torn ACL again. So I'm just not going to include him. Anyone who's out for the season, I don't include on these lists because we know that they're out for the season. So that's why I don't have Vlatko Cancar there. In Dallas, we got Luka back, so that was a W, and then everyone else is still out. Kyrie Irving, shoulder soreness. That's the second game that Kyrie has missed with shoulder soreness this season. So we just monitor that. I think he'll be good to go as we move forward, but we also don't have updates on him. On Klay Thompson, who has now missed 4 consecutive games with plantar fascia issues. Obviously, if you're unaware, you are dropping Klay Thompson.
Get that garbage out of here!
There's no reason to be holding him. Najee Marshall missed the last game with an illness. He'd been scoring really well. And Derek Lively with a knee. I don't know about Lively. I think he's probably closer to doubtful. And if I'm in a points league, that's okay to drop. He's not good enough to hold through uncertainty of a knee injury. With Kyrie, with Klay, with Najee all missing, we saw it. Quentin Grimes and Spencer Dinwiddie. Somehow other guys that are getting value. But that is a short-term thing. Because when 2 of those guys return, 2 of Kyrie, Klay, and Najee, that's not going to be viable for those players. So it is always important. We can look at that and go, man, look at that. Like Quentin Grimes was awesome last game. And he was. And it's 2 games in a row. But how often are we going to see 3 rotation players who are perimeter players out consistently? If we are, then great. Let's fire up Grimes. Let's fire up Dinwiddie. But that's not a long-term thing. Short-term is great. Like, you look at that. That is what you approach. That's what we do on the streaming show. But that's not a long-term solution. In Cleveland, the Winter Soldier, Max Strus, has not played this season. We are maybe a week away from him returning, and I don't think that we need to bother with that in 12-team formats, especially the way that Kenny Atkinson is running things. And then Dean Wade is also, who was starting in place of Strus, who's now getting replaced by Isaac Okoro. I don't think we need to worry about Dean Wade, who might miss another 2 games, but he has had very long healing times from his past injuries. In Chicago, Kobe White is officially questionable for the game on Monday with an ankle issue that he suffered on one of the last couple of games. His minutes have actually been down the last 4 games, White. 30, 31, 26, 33. So just keep an eye on that. With White out, it does allow more for Dosunmu to do. We also saw Lonzo Ball push up into a larger role last game. He played 22 minutes, and then they said, absolutely not, he's playing 18 in the next one. So keep an eye on that. I'm also not expecting Patrick Williams to be available. He's out on Monday. I don't think he plays. They've got a Thursday, Friday back-to-back, so I don't think he plays in at least that game on Thursday. And we had a little boost there from Pat earlier in the season. He fell off. He's injured. You drop him. If he gets back to being good again, probably not, then you can go back and re-add Pat Williams. In Charlotte, this is where a lot of the injuries are happening. Well, actually, the next few teams, there's a million injuries going on. Miles Bridges, we don't have any update on when he is back. He injured or he aggravated his knee bone bruise. He has now missed 6 consecutive games. Their next game is on Tuesday. You would think that Bridges' return is coming pretty soon, but they haven't given an update, shockingly enough. With him out, they're starting Tijan Salin in that position. That's not really something that we need to be super interested in for 10 or 12. It's more 14 to 16 teamers. LaMelo Ball and Trey Mann are both going to be reevaluated in 2 weeks. I think Ball will be fine to come back around that 19th of December mark. I do not think Trey Mann will be back. I think that Trey Mann is going to be a long-term injury with his back problem that's been going on basically since the first 4 games of the season. And I worry that he might be talking months here of absence for Trey Mann. Maybe, speaking of months of absence, I have no idea about Mark Williams. He's doing a Chris Middleton where we get the news and in training camp, he should be right for the opener. And here we are as the clock ticks 6 weeks over. He still hasn't played. And Nick Richardson started, got hurt, and came back in that same time frame. So, yeah, look, I do believe that Mark is a better player than Nick Richards and will be prioritized by the Hornets, but we just roll with BDNR at this stage. And you can stash Williams, and I think it'll be a slow ramp-up because this man has not played in a year through multiple injuries. And he just seems to be an incredibly slow-healing player. And that is a concern, obviously. We also have not seen Daquan Jeffries play, and I don't think we will. In Brooklyn, there are a lot of injuries going on there as well. They are playing on Monday. Cam Thomas is out. Couple more weeks with the hamstring, and the guys that replace him, well, it's just whoever you want, really. It's Shake Milton, it's Keon Johnson, it's Zaire Williams, it's Jalen Wilson, it's Tyrese Martin. When are we going to get the pimple in there? Derek Whitehead. Maybe we get a Jackie Chue game. We can't get a Jalen Martin game because he's injured as well. Cam Johnson hurt his ankle last game. He is questionable for Monday. He claims that he's going to play, but let's see on that one. Zaire Williams would have been one of the replacements for Cam Thomas, but he hurt his leg at the end of the game on Sunday, and they are ominously calling it a knee sprain. Knee sprains are not one-game situation, so I've got him at the moment as an 8th of December return, but man, I think that's optimistic from me, and knee sprain is not a good sign at all. We'll see exactly when they come out with the diagnoses there. Dorian Finney-Smith has played 1 game out of his last 5 with an ankle injury. He is streamable when he plays, but I just don't know if he plays or not. Noah Clowney is out for a few weeks with the ankle problem. I think he's a March legend, but we're not there yet. And we still haven't seen Bojan Bogdanovic, and I haven't really heard any updates whatsoever. So maybe it's another week or so. If we have Johnson with ankle issues and Thomas out, and Finney-Smith and Williams out, then Bogdanovic will have a role. He's a points and threes player, but he probably needs 30-plus minutes to be a 12-team guy, and I don't really think we're going to get that. I also haven't included Ben Simmons on this list. Now, Simmons, he is sitting on a back-to-back on Monday, but he also left Sunday's game with a knee problem. So I don't know how much that's a serious thing, but when Simmons is playing, he's been somewhat streamable. But any sign of this, if he misses a game that's not a back-to-back, then we move on and we feel comfortable in doing that. In Boston, I could put a million players there as injured, but I'm not going to because I know that they're not real injuries, and that's okay as well because they are in a position where they are that good where they can afford to do this. There is no Porzingis, there is no Al Horford, and there was no Drew Holiday on Monday, which is absolutely not surprising in the slightest. We knew that this was going to happen. And then what they have done is they have listed Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Derek White as questionable on Monday. Now, Brown missed Sunday with an illness, so cool. Jason Tatum has what they're calling patellar tendonitis, which of course is a fake injury term, so he can rest a back-to-back, which they will do because they can afford to do that. Derek White, we actually did see hurt himself in the game on Friday, then he missed Sunday, so I'm including Derek as the real injury here, and he's a real shot to miss on Monday, which means we're going to get a lot of Slam and Sammy Hauser, we're going to get a lot of Peyton Pritchard, and then we're going to get randoms like Drew Peterson or Jaden Springer, or maybe we get a Baylor Shireman showing. It's no Holiday, no Porzingis, no Horford, maybe no White, maybe no Tatum, maybe no Brown. Tons of Pritchard, tons of Hauser, some Cater and Cornette. You'll get a bit of Tillman. You might get some Davidson. You might get some Shireman. It's going to be a one-day thing, though. And then in Atlanta, we've only got the 2 guys on the injury report, and they're both with probable tags, so that's a W. Trae Young and his $100,000 Achilles is listed probable, and Bogdanovic with his hamstring injury. At the moment, Bogdan's not really performing like a 12-team league player. I would like to hold on in category leagues for just a little bit more, but he's not really doing that at this stage, and we will need to reassess that when we get to it. And that is 30 teams. And you know what? I can't actually tell at the moment whether we got this done in under 30 minutes because my recording program crashed 3 times in the middle of it, so sorry for some janky cuts in the middle, so I don't have the full recording time. I'm going to guess we didn't quite get there, but that's okay. We did our best. We did our best. And I'm going to tell myself that I worked through the troubles, and I did that. That was good of me to be able to do that without getting too flustered and getting it all done and sorted and edited to a reasonable standard, and I'm happy with that. Remember, you did something good today as well, and I know you're going to do something good later on today, and I know you're going to do something good tomorrow. We need to be more positive with ourselves. It is a way to feel better. I'm not saying to be ignorant of things going on. I'm not saying to be dismissive of things that you do incorrectly. But for as much as we criticize the negative, let's praise the positive. Let's keep a balance going. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.